Welcome, everyone. This public attention, please. Hi, thanks. Welcome, everybody. This public hearing is being held on the proposal to sell general obligation limited tax bonds of the district in one or more series in the amount of not to exceed $50 million for the purpose of financing capital improvement programs for the payment of land condemned or purchased for parks, for the building, maintaining, improving, and protecting of the same, and the existing facilities of the district, and for the payment of expenses incident thereto. Will the Secretary take a roll call of the Commissioners?
Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldyke?
Aye. Here.
Commissioner Hanlon?
Here.
Commissioner Lavelle? Commissioner Salgado?
Here.
Vice President Armstrong?
Here.
President Trabert?
Here.
A quorum is present. Let the record reflect that General Superintendent Michael Kelly and General Counsel Maria Garcia are also in attendance.
This meeting will please come to order. The Treasurer of the Chicago Park District will address the Board, Melinda Malloy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, my name is Melinda Malloy, Treasurer for the Park District. Notice of this public hearing was published on July 28, 2012 in the Chicago Sun-Times, a newspaper of general circulation within the Chicago Park District. As the Board President has already laid out, the district currently intends to sell bonds of the district in an amount not to exceed $50 million. And the items that were laid out, those are all enumerated in Section 20 of the Chicago Park District Act. And those are things for which the district would issue bonds to pay for. Before we open this up to public discussion, I thought I would give you some sense as to what this buying hearing is supposed to be about and why we're talking about $50 million. So in layman's terms, a BINA hearing, and so BINA stands for Bond Issue Notification Act. It's a statutory requirement, and it really is the first step that an entity needs to take before it issues new money bonds. So in here, we're not talking about what type of bonds we're issuing. We're not telling you how much we intend to sell these for. We're not talking about the team that might help us achieve an issuance of a bond. We're simply letting the public know at this point in time, we do intend to sell new money bonds. Those other items I just talked about will come back at a later point in time. It's called a long form ordinance. But at that time, we'll go through all the specifics of what it would take to actually go to market to issue bonds for the district. So why $50 million? There's really two things that kind of are binding that number. One is our cash flow needs, and the other one is our debt service limits. So I'm going to start with our debt service limits first. Earlier today, I came to you to talk to you about the 2012 tax levy ordinance. And as a part of our tax levy, we pay for our debt service. Our debt service is actually limited by state statute in terms of how much that we can go out with and support with our tax levy piece. That's called the debt service extension base. So that's one limiting factor that we have, and we always need to be mindful of that as we issue new money because we need to layer our debt such that we are living underneath that cap. So that's the one binding piece. The other piece is really our cash flow needs. So the district every year is going to announce a capital improvement program, and that's ranged anywhere between $35 to $40 million on an annual basis. But we don't spend all of that money in 1 year. We announce a program, but the actual cash itself doesn't spend in year one. It's going to take several years for that money to spend. So what the district has done over the last several years is try to match our issuance as close as we can to our cash flow needs. So this $50 million will actually fund the remaining piece of our 2010 capital improvement program, potentially the remaining piece of our 2011, definitely a portion of our 2012, and it possibly might seed our 2013 program. Those decisions about exactly what we're going to fund in the end, we'll come back to you with that when we come with our long form ordinance at a later point in time. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the Commissioners? Okay, we'll now open the hearing to public discussion. Do we have speakers?
No, sir, we didn't have anyone who had previously signed up according to our public participation rules.
Are there any additional people who wish to speak to this matter but have not signed up with the Secretary?
We have one member of the public who would like to speak, Mr. George Blakemore.
Are we also clear on any testimonies? We have no testimonies?
We have no testimony, sir. We ask that you please limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Yes, my name is George Blakemore, and I'm a concerned citizen. And I was told that I couldn't speak. This is a public hearing, and it's separate from people in the park. like I have to be pushy and aggressive. Anyway, I'm here, and that $50 million bond, I'm wanting to know how long and what is the percentage that the Park District would have to pay. And I'm very concerned about the maintenance when it deals with receiving this money. You have to then contract it out the maintenance and the upkeep of the Park District facilities. And I'm not comfortable as a citizen to support this amount of money when I see that some of these contracts you're not including people of color, minorities. So again, the questions that I would like to answer: how long will this bond go on? 20 years? When would it be come to the head? And what percentage is the Park District paying? We're in an economic crisis now, and seem like it. You should have a very a low interest rate on this $50 million bond. So again, I didn't sign up, but I'm glad the president did acknowledge. You should always acknowledge
30
public
seconds remaining.
participation when it comes to public money. And I hope that these questions that I have brought to the board can be addressed. Thank you very much.
Melinda, would you address those questions?
So I'll address the ones that I can. Those being the length that these bonds will be issued. So again, we would have to go back to look at state statute. And state statute defines how long we can issue bonds for. When we do limited general obligation bonds, which is what we will be coming back to the board to ask for the authority for, it's 30 years is the maximum. I will tell you what we have done is usually issued no more than 25-year bonds, and where we can, we try to fit in 20. How we make that decision really is, again, a function of trying to live with under our debt service extension base, what I was talking about before. In terms of an interest rate, you obviously know I can't give you a guarantee about interest rates right now. What I can tell you, though, is that the market is definitely in an issuer's favor. That has happened over the past several years. In 2010, again, I won't take credit for it, but the district actually was in the market on the day that was, at that particular point in time, the lowest day for the tax-exempt market, and we did phenomenal in that deal. Last year, we were just a couple days away from it. When we did that deal, we had quite a bit of refunding that was a part of that deal. The district achieved over 13% net present value savings, and that meant over $22 million to the district. What that allowed us to do is create capacity under this debt service extension base that I've alluded to before. So the $50 million, again, the maximum amount that it could be is 30 years. I will tell you our history is less than that, and we are looking at a very favorable market.
Any other questions from the commissioners? So all public comments have been received, and if there are no further comments from the commissioners, that concludes the public hearing, and can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. The public hearing is concluded, and we'll now proceed to the next meeting.
Thanks.
Would everyone please stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On this day, Wednesday, August 8th, 2012, at 4:15 p.m., the regularly scheduled board meeting of the Chicago Park District is being held in the 8th floor boardroom of the Administration Building at 541 North Fairbanks Court, Chicago, Illinois. Will the Secretary take a roll call of the Commissioners?
Commissioner Shalaby?
Here.
Commissioner Koldyke?
Here.
Commissioner Hanlon? Commissioner Laval. Commissioner Salgado.
Here.
Vice President Armstrong.
Here.
President Trobert.
Here.
Quorum is present. Let the record reflect that General Superintendent Michael Kelly and General Counsel Maria Garcia are also in attendance.
This meeting will please come to order. Before we start on the published agenda, let me just welcome welcome all the visitors that we have here, but let me also specifically welcome some special visitors that are here. Vicki Cola, who works with the Board of Commissioners of Chicago Park District, has led an effort for us to seek national accreditation. And we are going through a process that's been a terrific process for us, a process of self-examination and looking at best practices. And we're seeking this national accreditation through the National Recreation and Park Association. And we have a team who is here as part of that evaluation team. So let me just recognize them. We have the chair, Bert Neal, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Steve Waring from Sanford, Florida, Michael Klitzing from Carmel, Indiana, Stephanie Torres from Washington, D.C., and Beth Wickline from the National Recreation and Park Association. Is there a member that'd like to address the board or address the crowd? Bert Neal.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to address you just a minute or two. Again, my name is Bert Neal. I'm from Baton Rouge. I represent the National Recreation and Parks Association, and more specifically, CAPR, which is a Council of Accreditation for Parks and Recreation Agencies. What we do, we come in free of charge, and we evaluate your entire system. There's 144 standards that departments have to meet. There's a process we go through. It generally takes us 3 days to do that. And then we evaluate the response that we get from the questions. And then we submit a report to the CAPR board. And then if they approve that, well, then you'll be recognized as an accredited agency in Anaheim, California in October. I might add that there's only 102 accredited agencies in the entire United States, 2 of which come from the state of Illinois. So I applaud y'all for taking the steps to get it done. It'll let the citizens here know that you operate under the highest standards established by the recreation and parks profession. And again, I thank y'all for taking the time and effort to go through this process, because what it does, it makes you be the best that you can be. And I think that's all what the citizens of Chicago would like. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Vicki, again, thank you for leading this effort. Okay, so we'll start off with something that's bittersweet for us, honoring Scott Hanlon, who's just been a superb board member, and this is Scott's last board meeting. And so I'm going to read a resolution, and then we'll invite comment. Whereas since 2009, Commissioner Scott Hanlon has served the Chicago Park District with great integrity, dedication, and vision as a member of the Board of Commissioners, and whereas Commissioner Hanlon was first appointed to the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners in June 2009 and was appointed Vice Chair of the Committee on Programs and Recreation, and whereas in addition to his medical career, Commissioner Hanlon volunteers for community and civic organizations such as the Port Ministry Medical Clinic in Englewood, and served as treasurer of the Dunbar Park Advisory Council and as vice president of the Ping Tom Advisory Council, and represented the Park District on the board of the Grant Park Music Festival. And whereas in 2006, Commissioner Hanlon founded both the Near South Side Little League and the Near South Soccer League, an AYSO affiliate, to bring the Near South community its first organized youth sports program. The leagues were run at Dunbar and Ping Tom parks. The number of participating families has more than tripled since their inception. And whereas Commissioner Hanlon is also involved with the Near South Youth Association, where he initiated a Little League baseball tournament which matched teams from different areas of the city. And whereas Commissioner Hanlon was a strong advocate for a number of causes involving the children that participate in Park District program, including the nutritional value of summer camp lunches and snacks, and bringing sports leagues to the near south area of the city. Now therefore, be it resolved that we, the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners, and the General Superintendent extend our heartfelt gratitude to Commissioner Hanlon for his years of dedication and service to the Chicago Park District and to the people of the city of Chicago, and that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to Commissioner Hanlon on this 8th day of August 2012. Signed, Brian Traubert and Michael Kelly. Scott, you know, you're well known around here as the commissioner who is involved at the grassroots level of the parks. And both at Ping Tom and Dunbar, you've activated those places and made a huge, huge difference. And you talk the talk and you walk the walk, and we all know it, and we all appreciate what you've done. We're really going to miss you, but I know the kind of guy you are, and I know that you believe this work to be important, and that you're going to continue the work. And we thank you in advance for what you will do. And today we thank you for all that you've done. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
If I can, I'd like to say a few words too, Mr. President. So, Scott, we met in June of '09, but I think I knew you. You didn't know me, but I knew you before then because I was Chief Operating Officer at the time. And the level of maintenance, the level of care we had to pay to Ping Tom Park ramped up immensely when you came on the scene. And you took a little park and you energized it. From there, you're a bridge builder. You built a bridge from Ping Tom to Dunbar. And anybody who's familiar with Dunbar, Dunbar was a tough park. You went in there, you mobilized it with a lot of volunteers, and you are a role model. And more importantly, my observation of you is quite simply, you're one of those people that are rare, because when you're around Scott Hanlon, he motivates you and all those around you to be better people. And if you see Scott not at the board, you see Scott out in action, and he'd say, I'm just acting as a coach or volunteer. You see the spirit, you see the passion, you see the pride that the people in the community rally around you. So I thank you for that, and I know we're going to work well together in the future. So again, thank you, and I appreciate everything you did on this board. Thanks.
Scott, can we contribute? Can we just continue a couple things before?
Oh, go right ahead. Yeah, go right ahead.
First of all, I'd invite other commissioners who'd like to comment.
Yeah, if I may. Scott, you're wonderful. For anyone who doesn't know Scott, he started these baseball leagues, soccer leagues. He is dedicated to the core to the Park District. But he's also a medical doctor, one of the busiest guys around, and I know everywhere I went, any park situations that were happening or events, Scott was always the first one there. So in addition to all of your personal and business load, we thank you for what you've done with the park, and I want to thank you for the personal friendship, and I'm sure I speak for all the other commissioners. You're a great guy, a great person to work with, and the Park District has benefited from what you've done and what you'll continue to do after today. Thanks again, Scott.
When Scott joined the board, my assistant, whose name is Kim, said, "What's his name?" And I said, "Dr. Scott Hanlon." And she said, "He's my doctor." So in the small world department, and if you can survive her screen, I knew at the beginning you were a good person. But Scott, you and I have both been involved in helping build park-based systems near North Little League, Hamlin Park, and the stuff you've done. And my hat's off to you, because I've seen how hard it is to lead those. You led one, I was a part of one. And how many kids are in your system now?
Soccer, we have about 500 kids, and overall probably have 700 to 1,000 kids.
700 to 1,000 kids who weren't in the parks before are now in the parks because of this man. You know, enough said. Thank you.
Is Jim Navarre here? Hey, Jim. Could you come to the podium and address? Jim, is the president of the Near South Side Little League.
So you know him as a commissioner. Some people know him as a doctor. I know him as Scott. And I can tell you, if anyone's ever met him before, he is far and away the singular most talented human being I've ever met in my life. There is nothing he can't do, and I mean nothing. He started off with soccer 6 or 7 years ago at Pington Park, and probably put Mr. Kelly to work immediately at Pington Park. The reality is every park that Scott's ever been to has been significantly improved, both in terms of the use of the park, the community surrounding the park, as well as the facilities themselves. Unfortunately for Pington Park, we became so popular we outgrew it, much to the benefit, however, of Dunbar. Right now, we offer sports programs not only in soccer, baseball, flag football, floor hockey, basketball, girls softball, you name it. And I think Scott's being modest when he says it's 700 to 1,000 families. I think it's thousands of families right now, not to mention how many more thousands will come. You read off the resolution, but he really embodies it. I know you have an accreditation body here, but he really is the epitome and I think the height that the Park District can achieve. From the moment he leaves his house and heads to Dunbar at about 6:15 on a Saturday morning, he begins walking through the park. And what he's doing is he's walking through the park is he's picking up garbage. We have a Park District Commissioner picking up garbage from sunup to sundown while he's in the park. And not only does he do it at the most basic level, he does it at the macro level. He designs new programs. Somebody referenced the new baseball tournament. That's something that he started and was a leader on this year. It's never easy to lead. Scott knows that. I know that. Anyone who's been a leader knows that. But it really benefits the community as a whole. He is an absolute innovator, creative beyond belief. You can go to a soccer game on a Saturday at Dunbar and see ponies. You can see face painters. You can see balloon people. You can see bagpipes. It doesn't matter. He brings it together. We have Crazy Hat Day. It's really amazing, and we draw people from near south, from Brownsville, from Hyde Park, from Chinatown. And when we have our end of the season festivities, I often take a look around and I look at all these people who have come together who would never have come together but for Scott Hanlon. And the impact of this is astounding. You have kids who never would get the chance to meet other kids. You have parents who would never have the chance to meet other parents, interacting on a fun level, which is so important for the kids. And consistent with his theme as a doctor, the idea is to get the kids involved, get the kids active, and bring the parents here to support them. He's tremendous, and I don't have enough words to describe him. Thank you.
So now I have to speak here after all those nice words, but you know, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to work with this fine group. You know, the Park District, you know, Mike and your administration, all the directors, fabulous people, the staff, the people below the directors, people from the advisory councils I've met, and not only ones that I've been involved with, but other advisory councils, the coaches I've worked with, and the general public I've worked with in going to the various parks. I've really enjoyed myself during the last 3 years. In particular, it's been a learning experience for me. I've had the opportunity to learn about city governance, which I really, you know, had no experience in. I was a physician and you know, ran a kids soccer league, but I've really appreciated the ability to learn about that, the public tax dollar, and the fact that we're doing, I think, a good job of working properly. And as a citizen and as a Chicago taxpayer, I have a lot of confidence in Mike, you know, your administration. That number one, you're going to successfully implement this strategic plan that was laid out today. I applaud you on that and the hard work that all the directors have done to put that together. Gia Biaggi, all the hard work that's been done with that. And also, while doing that, remaining in a balanced budget during these tough times. I'm impressed by that, and I look forward to seeing things develop. I would like to encourage one of my fellow board members to consider taking my position, which I'm going to resign on the Grand Park Music Festival board, which is in somewhat of a critical transition time. But to me, the Grand Park Music Festival is a wonderful gem of the city of Chicago. It's one of the only free concerts that a municipality has in the United States, and it's a great thing. So I encourage one of my fellow board members to consider joining that board and helping with that transition. But you know, Jim had these kind words to say, myself, my family, my good friends on the near South Side, and Jim runs our baseball wonderfully. We will continue to work with the families of the Near South Youth Association, and that is a wide group of people. It's a very diverse group of people. Also, I do want to keep working with the Park District on this competitive baseball situation. This is our first year we had this travel league tournament, and it was excellent. Jim had 2 teams in the league, and they did very well. I think that if we can do this citywide, you can apply it to girls softball, other sports. It really gives kids an opportunity to do something versus getting in trouble. So I'm going to, again, work with you guys on that. And although my term as a commissioner is coming to an end here today, I still find myself to be a welcome member of this family, the Park District family, and I will always be that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Will the secretary take a roll call of the commissioners?
Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldyke?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Traubert?
Aye.
Commissioner Hamlin, I didn't think you wanted to vote for
I will
yourself.
vote for myself. I'll decline.
Motion carried, and the matter or the resolution is adopted.
Item number 2, resolution declaring August 12th through 18th, 2012 Wheelchair Softball Week in Chicago in recognition of the Chicago Park District sponsorship of the 36th National Wheelchair Softball Tournament being held August 16th through the 18th.
So Mike Kelly, General Superintendent and CEO, I present this resolution to the board and hopefully for your approval. Whereas the National Wheelchair Softball Association, the NWSA, was formed in 1976, and whereas the NWSA has been the catalyst for organized softball competition among wheelchair athletes across the United States for more than 35 years, and whereas the NWSA has affiliate teams throughout the country, including 3 from Illinois, and whereas the Chicago Park District is hosting the 36th National Wheelchair Softball Championship Tournament August 16th through the 18th. And whereas tournament games will be played at U.S. Cellular Field and at Cubs Care Field at California Park. And whereas 12 National Wheelchair Softball Association teams from across the U.S. plus a team from Japan will be competing for the 16-inch softball national title. And whereas the Chicago Park District wishes both the Chicago Rollin' White Sox and the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago Cubs much success in this year's national tournament. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners and the General Superintendent, welcome the 36th National Wheelchair Softball Championship Tournament and declare August 12th through the 18th, 2012, Wheelchair Softball Week. On behalf of the Chicago Park District and the people of the City of Chicago, and that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to the Association on this 8th day of August 2012. Signed, Brian Traubert, President, Board of Commissioners, Michael Kelly, General Superintendent and CEO.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried, and the matter is adopted.
Item number 3, resolution honoring the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago Cubs, the first wheelchair softball team to be inducted into the Chicago 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame. Larry Labiak.
Thank you, President Traubert. Just before I read this resolution, I did want to recognize that we have both players from the Rollin' White Sox and the RIC Cubs here today who will be participating in the national tournament next week. We have Hector, Jorge, Jaime, Eric, the only one that's not a sound, and coaches and representatives, Keith Wallace from Midwest Wheelchair Sport and Social Club, and Sue Deneen, his assistant, and Derek Daniels and Trent Fenhouse from the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, who are aptly involved in partnerships with the Park District over many years. And now I thank you for the opportunity to read this resolution. Whereas the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago RIC Cubs were inducted into the Chicago 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame in April 2012, And whereas the RIC Cubs are the first wheelchair softball team to be inducted into the Chicago Hall of Fame, and whereas the RIC Cubs were national champions in 2002 and 2005, and whereas in 1982, the RIC established the Wirtz Wheelchair Sports Program to provide competitive sporting opportunities for youth and adults with permanent physical disabilities. And whereas the RIC Rollers Wheelchair Softball team was established in 1984 and played in the national tournament that year. And whereas the Rollers struggled for several seasons until a definitive turnaround began in the early 1990s after Cubs Care, the charitable arm of the Chicago Cubs, began to financially support the team, leading to its renaming as the RIC Cubs. And whereas the RIC Cubs have competed in the national tournament every year since, and whereas the RIC Cubs have played in the prestigious Major League Softball tournament 10 times since 1999, claiming 8 titles and a pair of second-place finishes. And whereas since 2000, the RIC Cubs have achieved a top 4 national tournament finish 10 times, claiming 2 national championships, 4 second place, 2 third place, and 2 fourth place trophies. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners and the General Superintendent, extend congratulations to the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago Cubs on behalf of the Chicago Park District and the people of the City of Chicago, and that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to the team on this, the 8th day of August, 2012. So signed, Brian Traubert, President, Board of Commissioners, and Michael P. Kelly, General Superintendent and CEO.
You know, I must say that for most of the city, it's been 100 years since the word champion and Cubs have been in the same sentence.
We were all thinking it.
And as a lifelong Cubs fan, I'm just so excited to hear those words in the same sense. Congratulations, you guys. That's fantastic.
And if I may, I would like to have the Cubs team and coaches come up and say hello to the commissioners. If we have a photo opportunity, that'd be wonderful, and present the resolution to them. Derek Daniels, Trent Tenhouse, Cubs players. Corey Hugg is one of the Cubs coaches, ladies and gentlemen, and a volunteer at that. We're so proud. I am, as a representative of the Park District, of the partnerships that we have with the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago and Midwest Wheelchair Sport and Social Club to benefit Paralympic athletes, individuals who have a primary physical disability or who are blind. Thank you. Could I just have the Cubs come up for, the White Sox come up for the photos as well with all of you and the Cubs players? Because I feel a marketing opportunity for the future. You know, it's only been 7 years. Almost. Good opening.
Yeah, just squeeze it all the way back around. Thank you.
Lord. Oh, baby. Poor children.
Go Cubs.
Okay, we didn't vote on the last item, so we need a...
So moved.
Second.
Will the secretary take a roll call of the commissioners?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldyke?
Aye.
Commissioner Hanlon?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Traubert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the resolution is adopted.
So now that we've set the world record for uttering the word whereas, we'll go on with the meeting. Item number 4, certificate of publication regarding the notice of resolution of prevailing wage rates. This item will be marked as received and filed by the secretary. Item number 5, certificate of receipt from the Illinois Department of Labor regarding the resolution approving the 2012 prevailing wage rates. This item will be marked as received and filed by the secretary. Item number 6, certificate of receipt from the Secretary of State regarding the resolution approving the 2012 prevailing wage rates. This item will be marked as received and filed by the secretary. Item number 7, approval of the minutes from the annual meeting held on Wednesday, June 13th, 2012. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify, please excuse me, from the regular meeting on Wednesday held July 11th,
I'm
2012.
sorry.
Please excuse me. May we still have a motion to approve the item?
So,
Second, thank you.
Will the secretary take a roll call of the commissioners?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
aye.
Commissioner Koldyke?
Aye.
Commissioner Hanlon?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Traubert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the minutes are adopted.
Next, the general superintendent will say a few words about Lollapalooza and the ongoing Shakespeare in the Park plays.
So I'll start with Lollapalooza. Actually, I'm going to start with Shakespeare in the Parks. And I'm going to start with Shakespeare in the Parks because it's important to remind people that the Chicago Park District is a major player in the arts and culture world in Chicago. We're a big part of the fabric of what's going on. A lot's been made of, and rightfully so. Mayor Emanuel's cultural plan is soon to be released with the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. We're a part of that. This opportunity right now I'm going to take is to tell you a little bit more about Shakespeare in the Parks, and hopefully everybody can hear me in the back. I think I'm cutting in and out. But Shakespeare in the Parks was an innovative new idea that we brought to the Park District this year in partnership with the Chicago Shakespeare Theater and Boeing in particular. It's free professional actors performing The Taming of the Shrew in your local parks. Not downtown, not in pricey theaters. A real troupe with real pros. I mean, quite. We enjoyed about 700 or 800 people did the opening show at South Shore Cultural Center, and since then they've played about 7 shows to the tune of about 2,300 people. Really representing a diverse crowd, a lot of families. It's a really cool experience. If you haven't gone, I really encourage everyone to go. I think I might have. Yep. So future performances, and this is all on our website, but are at Wells Park, Garfield Park Conservatory, Ridge Park, and Frank J. Wilson Park. So keeping in that same discussion about culture and the arts, I think everybody knows Lollapalooza just rolled in and just rolled out of town this past weekend. I'm pleased to say that we had 100,000 participants at the concert each day. I'm just going to yell. Based on ticket sales, we will equal or surpass 2011, which is about $2.7 million. The landscape will be restored in its entirety by C3. I mean, they spent almost $800,000 to $1 million last year, and loadout will be complete Friday at 5 o'clock. It was a wildly successful concert, and it generates millions and millions of dollars for Chicago. You can't get a hotel room, you can't get a reservation in a restaurant anywhere nearby. It's really a jewel to Chicago now, and I think it's become one of the top 3 tourist attractions in the state of Illinois. So.
Having been there all 3 days, I wanted to commend you on your organization, not only on the security, but also the organization, but particularly how the Chicago Park District staff and law enforcement agencies handled the storm. I thought you guys made the right decision at the right time. It was calm. It was well orchestrated. Not only did you close the park and get people out safely, but then you reopened it safely. And I thought that was a testament to you and the staff, and a job well done. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll now hear a presentation from the Chief Program Officer recognizing the citywide Chicago Park District tumbling team for their achievement at the National Tumbling Championships. Vaughn Bryant.
Thank you, Commissioners. What we have before us are 33 of the 35 Park District gymnasts who competed in the National Championships in California, Long Beach, California. In that tournament, 2,000 kids participated and competed over a 6-day period. And I'm proud to announce that we had 5 first-place finishers. We had 3 second-place finishers. And of the 35, 21 finished in the top 10. I want to give special thanks to Juan Mendoza, our manager in charge of gymnastics. I would argue that gymnastics is probably our most successful program in the Park District, and he's set the model for some of how our other sports programs will function in the future. And I'm going to have him come up to acknowledge his staff.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Kelly. I would like to, at this moment, introduce my gymnastics coaches, the ones that work day in, day out with the children. Our national champion coach, Deneen Cheatham. Our next coach is Daryl Harden. And Sarah Stecky. My gymnastics supervisors oversee this program, Keith Kerrigan, Carmen Kadar, and Sean Wolf. I would like to take the opportunity to thank everyone for their support in continuing this program. This program has reached about 3,500 kids a week throughout the city, so we're very proud of this program and the success. At this time, if you don't mind, I would like to invite the kids for a picture opportunity, so you guys can come up in front with the children. So please, let's move forward.
We're going to need a bigger stage.
We have a little organization here.
Maybe come back here.
I think this space.
Yeah. You think it'll work? Oh, okay.
Stand on our heads.
Right, we have sitting, kneeling, standing.
Squeeze in on the ends, please.
How about Nick? Hey, how about a big applause for the parents?
Oh, good. Okay. And the good thing is, the next Olympics, this sport is in the community.
To walk down to the.
Really? Two Olympics coming.
Yeah.
Could have an Olympian. It's an exhibition sport. 2 years.
All right, all right.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Today?
All right, if the meeting will come to order, first of all, thank you all for making the effort to come down here. It's great to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is people in the parks. Will the secretary please call the names of those who have signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. We ask that you please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Our first 3 speakers are Tony Aniquez, Leroy Bowers, and Reginald Thompson. Mr. Aniquez?
What was the first name?
Tony Aniquez. Mr. Bowers? Reginald Thompson?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
My name is Reginald Thompson. I'm the president of the Chicago Archery Club, and unbeknownst to a lot of people, the Chicago Archery Club is the oldest continuous archery club in the United States. We have been at the Washington Park location since 70 years ago. We had our 134th year of service this year. The range was established in 1905, and I can only account for the last 70 years, but we have a historian who's trying to find out whether or not we were there when they originally started the range. The reason I'm here today is just to let you know that there is archery in Chicago Park District. Originally there was 6 clubs. There are now only 2. Lincoln Park Archery Club on the north side, 3600 on Recreation Drive, and the Washington Park Archery Club over on Washington Park between Cottage Grove and Payne Drive at 58th Street. We've been there a long time. We've trained a lot of people. We also have indoor archery, which on the south side has been over at Hamilton Park, which is we consider the indoor range for our indoor tournaments. And I've also volunteered as an archery instructor for West Pullman of this year, earlier this year. Archery is becoming popular again, partly from the movies and partly from the Olympics. And we hope that in the future, if it should come up to the board where they're looking for funds, that hopefully they'll give us consideration for increasing the funds so we can hopefully again we'll have at least 6 archery clubs. Reese Park, Gage Park, Columbus Park, and Calumet Park all at one time had individual archery clubs, and for one reason or another they have gone by the wayside. So I would like to hand one of these to each one of you. It's just kind of a history of the Chicago Archery Club.
Please make your closing remarks.
And if you ever have any questions, please give me a call, or you can give a call to myself, and I can direct you to Lincoln Park if you have any questions on the Lincoln Park Archery Club.
Mr. Thompson, have you ever met with anybody from World Sports Chicago?
I know of World Sports, and I know that they're currently working with Lincoln Park, and we hopefully, after they finish with that that they will move on to Chicago.
I'm going to
Arts
pass
Club.
this along to them.
I appreciate that very much.
Also, Jim Easton from Easton Baseball Bats and,
Right.
and whatever, he was here during the 2016 process and was interested in promoting too, so I'd encourage some sort of connection there to see if there's some funding that he may
Absolutely.
help some of the kids get involved in it.
And that's what we're interested in too, getting more kids, more families involved with archery.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
The youth
Might have one for you.
after-school program that they have is starting to take off, but we'd like something actually to be here in the Park District.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for
Thank
your
you.
time. Thank you.
Our last four speakers are Cecilia Butler, Deborah Hand, Gary Oswald, and George Blakemore.
Good afternoon. My name is Cecilia Butler, and I was hoping to be called before Mr. Thompson so I can introduce him to you. I met Mr. Thompson. In fact, I toured Washington Park early in the morning, and I saw them out there on a Sunday morning about 8 o'clock, and that was a few years ago, and I've been interested in them ever since. And to have something as historic as an archery club in Washington Park, well over 100 years. I'm extremely happy about it. And we, the Advisory Council and the Park District, we should all try to do as much as we can for them, because this is something that we all can be proud of. My main purpose today is to make sure you, the commissioners and the superintendent, have the petition for Dr. Margaret Burroughs. And I want to read it real quick so everyone will know what we have here. We, the underside, petition the United States Postal Service for a commemorative stamp in honor of Dr. Margaret Taylor Goss Burroughs, a pioneer, an artist, a teacher, a poet, historian, and innovator, a Chicago Park District Commissioner, a wife, and a mother. As one of the founders of the first African American museum in the United States, the DuSable Museum of African American History, the Southside Community Arts Center, and the National Conference of Artists, Dr. Margaret T.G. Burroughs wanted her legacy to include a commemorative stamp in her image. This is the first step in that direction, and thank you for your support. Hopefully we'll talk to someone that we can have an all-out push for this, because we're looking to give them 25,000 signatures. So I'll talk to someone, I'm sure, later, but this is the first step, and I'm sure we can get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hand?
Good afternoon. I'm going to read, so I'll be sure to state everything. I'm here in support of the suggestion to rename the 31st Street Harbor in honor of Dr. Margaret Burroughs. Dr. Burroughs served as a symbolic harbor for African Americans in Chicago, particularly for the community where the harbor is located. She helped to create the concept of diversity among citizens of Chicago when many of its public and private entities were less willing. I was born and raised in Chicago. My grandchildren are here now. I grew up going to the 31st Street Beach, a beach which once African Americans were only allowed to go to. So it became culturally symbolic, that location, to us. Now that $103 million worth of renovation has gone into that place, I think that the community should have even more of a stake in being honored by having that location named for Dr. Burroughs. I think that they should be able to bask in the sunshine and pride of the beauty of that space and not be squeezed out by corporate dollars that can afford to buy a stake in the community. I realize that you need to be creative when funding the parks. I realize that. I want the children to have a safe place to play as well. But I think you also have to consider that part of their growing up is to make sure that as they go through Chicago and encounter
30 seconds remaining.
Its amenities, that they know where their legacy came from. So I very much encourage, if you want to be creative, let a company come in and take an existing neglected property, put a real stake in it, build that up, and brand it. But I would ask that she was a harbor, That was her community. This harbor should be named in her honor. Thank you.
Mr. Oswald?
Thank you, Commissioners, Superintendent Kelly. I won't take up too much of your time. Mostly I want to thank you for all the things that have been going on, the wonderful programs, the expansion of programs, the scholarships that were offered this year, the Shakespeare in the Park, and the other programs. And those of us like the South Shore Cultural Center, Jackson Park, are working to step up to the plate with bringing in partnerships and with new tours. We had a dragonfly tour at Jackson Park the other day. And that's the start of a new set of programs. Different workshops, people can hone their skills and different things. And I'm looking forward to hearing about that plan, for a strategic plan, and for programs to reach the kids in the dense areas and the areas where perhaps they haven't had there's not enough parks per square foot, and it's hard to get them in there. And we look forward to working with you again in the future. I also am interested in an honor for Dr. Burrows. We do have the wonderful gallery in South Shore Cultural Center. You have to go ask to have them open it up, because they have to be careful about what they but they'll let you see it right if you just ask at the security desk. But that harbor,
30 seconds remaining.
the harbor, I think that is the area, the Bronzeville area where she worked. We want to get people in the Lake Meadows and those other areas to become more involved crossing the lakefront. We need a new thing across at 35th Street too. That may looks like it may come about an overpass there, and I think that would be an excellent naming. And I hope also there that we make sure that we have enough park space, enough parking in that area for the public to use, and not just those who are able to have their boat there. And so let's keep things going. Thank you.
Mr. Blakemore?
Good afternoon to the superintendent, to the board members, also to the staff, and always to the concerned citizens who are present. I noticed after the young people left, the room was almost empty, but I'm still here. And it's an issue that I have. I'm fascinated by government, and I was just reading the agenda, and item in capital, item 2, dealing with Pizzo, that particular vendor says dealing with natural areas. The original bid was $1,367,290. Then the waters become muddy, coming back with an increase. That's $2,259,882. That's almost double the original bid. When that amount of money,
30 seconds remaining.
with that amount of money involved, that should be rebidded. And the way these contracts are set up for modification, substitutions, and amended, I'm always watching increase. And then when I asked the question, they said the reason why is additional work, and the Park District received additional funding from grants, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and other grants.
Thank you,
These
Mr.
grants,
Blakemore.
wait just one moment, be a little tolerant. These
You've
grants
exceeded your
come
2
in.
minutes.
These grants come in annually like that. So this is suspect that one bids low and then come back and
Mr.
change
Blakemore,
order
you have
and
exceeded
increase.
your 2
I would
minutes.
like to know the explanation. Perhaps someone can address that issue. How can that increase to this amount
Mr.
and not
Blakemore, you may
rebate it?
submit
Thank
any
you,
additional
Mr.
questions
Blakemore
in
would be
writing.
seated now, and if you can answer good, and if you can't, it's a reason why. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no further speakers.
Next on the agenda is a report from the Committee on Administration. Vice President Armstrong.
The Committee on Administration met on August 8th, 2012, to consider matters referred from July 12th to August 8th, 2012, and hereby recommends that its report be adopted. Item number 1, amendment to Chapter 3 of the Code of the Chicago Park District. Item number 2, presentation of the mission statement and 2012 comprehensive plan of the Chicago Park District. Item number 3, tax levy ordinance for the year 2012. Item number 4, authorization to amend the existing grant agreement with the Trust for Public Land for the continuation of the Bloomingdale Trail Civic Engagement and Stewardship Project. Item number 5, request to transfer trusteeship of the Viking Ship to Charitable Trust. Item number 6, request to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Public Library for archival materials. That concludes the report of the Committee on Administration, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Will the Secretary take a roll call for the adoption of the matter?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Hanlon? Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Trauberts?
Aye.
Motion carried and the report is adopted.
Committee on Capital Improvements met on August 8, 2012 to consider matters referred from July 12th to August 8, 2012, and hereby recommends that its report be adopted. Item number 1, authorization to enter into a joint purchase agreement with the City of Chicago for the purchase of roofing materials was adopted. Item number 2, authorization to modify a contract for Nature Areas Services was adopted. Item number 3, authorization to enter into contracts for the supply and delivery of landscape equipment was adopted. That concludes the report of the Committee on Capital Improvements, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the report is adopted.
Next on the agenda is a report from the Committee of the Whole. The Committee of the Whole met this morning in executive session to discuss a workers' compensation claim pursuant to Open Meetings Act 5, ILCS 120, Section 2, subsection C12, and had the following matters of new business. The Board of Commissioners approved the settlement of George Crawley versus Chicago Park District in the amount of $124,064.50 with open medical rights. That concludes the report of the Committee of the Whole, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the report is adopted.
Under unfinished business, nothing was presented for consideration. Under new business, nothing was presented for consideration. That concludes the board meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. The board meeting is now adjourned.
Absolutely.